Coach, are you making any lineup changes today?
There will be at least one lineup change, yeah. Couple lineup changes, I think, Paul.
You willing to say?
No. Soon enough.
How concerned are you about Dolly and the way he's clearly playing through what he's playing through, and how difficult this can become for him some of these recent games?
Yeah, he's lost his partner, which is obviously very challenging. And then he was listed day to day and played the next day, and he's a competitive guy. He's a guy that feels like others the pressure that when you're looking at winding down a season, the position you're in becomes immense in some respects, and you operate under different modes, and so for Dolls, yeah, it's he obviously is in a tremendous rhythm with Samuelsson. We lose him, and the same game was an occurrence with Dolls, and lots of guys are feeling that heat and that pressure, and that's a privilege to be in a situation where you have to deal with heightened pressure. It's what we hoped would happen when we started the season, that we would be in a position that, being as young as we are and thrusting guys into positions that we know it takes experience, and to have them gain the experience they're going through right now of heightened expectations and having to battle through, physical adversity, psychological adversity, through the long run is going to be healthy. For us, it's going to move us forward, but it is a battle right now, and it is a battle for Rasmus.
So much of this is matchups, and we saw the other night, you haven't done much this year against, I think, Philly, Ottawa, Seattle, but you probably like much of the 3 games against Boston. What is instructive to you and your guys about the way you played against Boston this year?
Well, I mean, they're a team you have to be ready for. They're an elite team because of their depth. They have experience and depth in all positions. So you're ready for that. It is part of learning to win more is being able to stabilize that preparation. You have to prepare for top teams. You're unaware that you're not preparing quite as well maybe for lesser teams. I think the last 2 games, the feel, everybody talks about this time of the year, but in all honesty, we went into Washington, the first 15 minutes of that game were about as loose, both teams. And we at one point in that game were up by 2, and it felt like we could have been up by 4. And we almost shifted away from business mode into just straight scoring mode, and allowed them to get back in the game, and we never made it as difficult a game as we probably should have. So it's learning to, unfortunately, learning from the mistake of that. We finish a road trip 1-1-1, and I think anybody that's followed us, anybody that has been around us, 1-1-1, 500 on the road, and we can unequivocally say we are completely dissatisfied with 500 on the road, completely. And that's the position we're in now. We're not happy with that. And that holds expectation when you just think and you say it that way. We are not happy being 1-1-1 on the road. And the reason is we're where we are. We've moved things along to where we are, where it is the time of year. And that there's a silver lining to that, but it is completely disappointing. And it's something that wasn't going to happen until it happened. And so these moments that are unfortunate. Again, it's you look around the league. It's Pittsburgh's in a playoff race. They lose 6-1 last night. It's dealing with pressure and the psychology of it, and we obviously have to learn to deal with it better. Period.
Now with young players. Development. It's an individual thing. You guys have always done it that way, you and Kevin. Devin's going to stay up here. why do you and Kevin feel that's the best path for him right now?
Either way is a great experience, is how we felt. This, who knows what will transpire next year. Obviously, a player at his age, will and would benefit from games in Rochester. So would he have the opportunity, if that's the case, out of the gate next year for this opportunity? So there's lots of different things you can weigh in. The stress that I'm speaking of, the pressure that's now here, the processing of where we're at is also a different experience that our locker room's feeling, that he can become a part of that as well. There's importance to that, to be here under these circumstances right now. So there's lots of benefits, but obviously, either way, lots of benefits, and it just came down to, he's here, and it's a good thing. Would have been a good thing either way, is the way I look at it.
I know there's immigration issues going on. Do you think, could he be on the ice in practice tomorrow?
He is, I would say, doubtful for tomorrow because of immigration earlier in the day, and it's Monday. So,
what have you gotten to know about him, watching from afar, and maybe the little you've gotten to interact?
A little bit. He studies the game and his position. He's intense on it. He's one of these players that's coaches himself very well. Again, studies shooters, studies movement, studies situation. So he's a great athlete, but he also has a lot of knowledge for a player his age. And I think that's because he's so engaged in coaching himself, that he has a greater stability because of that. When a goal goes in on him, sometimes a goaltender might not know what mistake he made in that. The inclination, with him, you'd probably ask him and he'd probably tell you exactly what happened and exactly what could have happened in different scenarios within the context of that situation. So he has a good base of positional and game knowledge already.
How much do you think his every development situation is different, but how different is it when you have that position, a goalie, but also somebody who does seem so advanced in terms of understanding the game and obviously has performed so well? How different is it to handle that and exercise the necessary patience?
Well, with every player incoming, you're trying to get a read on their confidence, their skill level with respect to this to our locker room, to the situation they're now in. So with him, that's obviously great for us here to observe his, where he's at in relation to the NHL right now. And I would suspect that he's more advanced in his age based on what he's done and accomplished prior to being here. But that doesn't mean there's not a lot of growth room, and there is. And so what specific growth areas, we'll see. It's different, obviously, in the NHL. From screens to tips to rebounds to shot velocity to deception of shooters, elite shooters in the league is much different. So there's a lot to acclimate to at this level, but having him here now, that can get that process started of saying what areas would we need to target for him to help him adjust. He's here. Yeah. Yep, I did this morning, and he got in last night.
How have the younger players, I know you cycled out JJ last game, but how have the younger players as a whole handled the pickup of the pace and schedule, the number of games, all that stuff as the season's going on?
Well, there's two components that are really an issue: physical fatigue and psychological fatigue. And most of the fatigue for a young guy, it manifests and looks like physical fatigue, but it's compounding pressure in psychology. The anxiety makes you more tired. It drains you faster. And I think our young guys have done a really good job of that. We've obviously used in and out of lineups to take some of that away from them or to help them balance it out. But I think they've done a tremendous job, and I think they're getting better. They're progressing from Peyton Krebs to J.J. Peterka to Jack Quinn to Owen Power and on. They're progressing, and that is not always the case through an 82 game season that becomes a grind. But the biggest thing for me that I've seen over the years that compounds it is the psyche, and you know, anxiety appears to be physical. It shows itself in physical fatigue and wear and tear. So, you know, I think we've tried to pay attention to that and respect that, and I like where our guys are.
You mentioned a lot about how much the young guys are learning from being in this position. How much are you learning about yourself as a coach, being in this spot with the expectations?
Well, you certainly have to reflect on it every day. So that is a great question, and that does not go unnoticed. I will have talks with our staff about how are we reacting under these circumstances. What does that convey and send to the players, to the locker room, and that? And it's, you know, we have struggled with pulling ourselves out of our zone and worry about results, and lost the process at moments. And so you look and you say, okay, how are you potentially contributing or not contributing to that, or what can you do to help that? So of course we're you know, self-analysis is something that I wouldn't be coaching here and wouldn't have improved as a coach if I didn't take heart in that. So you know, this is, and the other side of it, I can tell you right now, this is an opportunity coaching wise, and so there are things you're pushing them, knowing that it's challenging them more, and it may upset the apple cart a little bit, but in the long run, it's going to help. It's going to, you know, you can push and grind them, and they feel a little tension, a little nerve, and it's we have to learn how to deal with that too. And so yes, there's a balance to what you're doing, but the objective is still to move this franchise and this group specifically to the next levels. So, you know, we become better because of this, you know, heightened pressure and, you know, more challenging situation.